Hello and welcome back to my channel, Constant Readers. As you can see in the title, this will be my ranking of the first 9 Stephen King books I have read. Yeah, this is just my opinion, and I'll start by saying all the 9 books that I have read, then I'll get into the ranking. The first Stephen King book I ever read was in January of 2020, and that was The Shining. I think it was a good place to start, and it was quite good. So the next book I went to was Salem's Lot in October. So there's like a year difference, or shorter than a year, but about a year difference from Shining to Salem's Lot. And I wasn't really into Stephen King, and I picked up Salem's Lot, and that's when it really took off, when I started watching many videos about Stephen King, learning about all the books he wrote, and the next book I read after Salem's Lot was The Gunslinger in 2021, January 2021. And I quite enjoyed that. Next, I went to The Drawing of the Three, the second book in the Dark Tower series, in February 2021. I loved The Gunslinger, so I really wanted to continue the Dark Tower series, and I definitely will get to the third book coming up in the next months. So, after The Drawing of the Three, I went to I went to Misery. Misery, I think, was around April. I read Misery, and it was really good. It was very, very good. After Misery, I went to The Long Walk, which was around June, or May, June. Then I read Pet Sematary in June of 2021. Then I went to Gwendy's Button Box in July, I think early July. And I finished off with Carrie a few weeks ago, which was the latest Stephen King book I've read. And I'm currently reading many Stephen King books. I'm jumping around here. Sometimes I just don't like it, or I'm not in the mood to read this, and so I jump around Stephen King books. I also read many other different books. But those were the first 9 I read. I've been reading Stephen King for a year and a half now. That's all the 9 books. And I chose 9 and not to wait to read more, because I thought 9 was a good number. If you know, in the Dark Tower and the Gunslinger, especially, 19 is a very important number. And if you don't know, 9 isn't 19, so I thought that was a good number. Let's just get to the ranking now. Coming in at number 9 is The Gunslinger. I know I said it was really good, and I enjoyed it, and I wanted to get to the second one, but The Gunslinger was, people say it's confusing. I didn't find it confusing. I just found it was short, and I didn't really get that much information. I felt many people say it's like a prologue to the Drawing of the Three, and I agree with that. It didn't feel like a story to me. There wasn't really a big story in it, and that's why it's at number 9. It absolutely is not a terrible book. It's the worst Stephen King book I've read so far, but that doesn't mean it's bad. So coming in at number 8 then is Gwendy's Button Box. People might say this is unpopular, but Gwendy's Button Box I found was a good story. It was a good novella. It was a quick read, and I felt there was like a good story to it. There was action, and it was really interesting, and I'm curious to get to the second book and the third book that comes out in January, I think, 2022. I just really liked the concept in Gwendy's Button Box. Coming at number 7 is The Drawing of the Three. I love The Drawing of the Three. It was such a good sequel to The Gunslinger, and I love books or just parts in books like The Fellowship of the Ring, where they're grabbing characters to go on to the adventure. I just love that pick and choosing, and I liked how in The Drawing of Three there are different sections where like there's a story. There are like different short stories, and I love that. That was such a good. I felt like Stephen King had more of a plan in this book than The Gunslinger, and it really evolved the Dark Tower series after he wrote The Drawing of the Three. So yeah, that was number 7. Number 6 is Carrie. Yeah, I recently read this, and in no means is it bad. It was a very enjoyable read. It was very quick read. It was I went through all the emotions here. I was mad. I was feeling bad for Carrie, but I was always mad at Carrie. People sometimes just say like, "Oh, Carrie's going through. Her mom was abusive," and I don't deny that. That is a terrible thing. But you also can't just kill everyone. So there's sides you could be on it. It's like a teeter-totter or something. I was thinking a balance scale or something. There's reasons why she shouldn't have done it, and there's reasons that explain like, yeah, I mean, it's explainable is what I'm trying to say. Number 5 is The Long Walk by Richard Bachman, pseudonym for Stephen King took that pseudonym. Long Walk, it was very good. I felt it was relatable. It was I again, like Carrie, I went through the motions with this one. I was sad because you get to know so many characters, and then you know what happens to them if you read the book. It's a very impactful book, and you could really see Stephen King could relate, and this was the story he had to tell. So, and I like the ending. Many people don't like the ending, but I felt it was very ominous. It wasn't an ending that I was like mad at all. And Stephen King really pulled off the ending. Now we're getting into the top 5. Long Walk was number 5, so number 4. People might be surprised that this is not higher on my list, but yeah, so number 4 is Pet Sematary. I don't really have much to say about this. You could see my review of this, and I really seemed... I after I read this, I was confused. I had to wait a few weeks to really understand what my feelings were about this book, and a few weeks after, I really felt like Stephen King can describe like no other author. He can describe the grief that the characters are going through. He can describe any emotion, and that's why this book is number 4. It was I don't really have much to say. It was just absolutely fantastic. Yeah, and the ending was good too. Number 3, top 3. Here we go. Number 3 is Salem's Lot. I thought this was a true horror story. This scared me. This impacted me so hard after reading it, and I still scared of things that he made me scared of when I read it in October. When I go to bed, I still close my curtain because I do not want to wake up and see a vampire out my window. Yeah, it's truly a scary story, and I felt this one was, I think the Salem's Lot was the scariest of the 9 books I've read so far, and it was scary, and the characters were good. I mean, some of them weren't that good, but I liked Mark, the kid, I think his name was, and I liked it. It was good, and I like how he can build such a good town. He's so good at making a small town feel alive with life, and I like those chapters that are just called The Lot, and those are the best, I think. So yeah, coming at number 2 is The Shining. You could probably know what my number 1 is if obviously you know what the books I read, but The Shining was scary. I felt Salem's Lot was scarier, but Shining I thought was way better than the Salem's Lot. It was my first book that I read, so it kind of brings in the nostalgia, but not that much. I still think of scenes in that book, and there are many books I read that I just forget. I don't know what happened, and I read them a year ago, and I forget what happened. Shining stuck with me. I can remember specific scenes, like I'm not gonna go into any spoilers, but Danny and Wendy elevator scene with the party. If you read the book, you know what I'm talking about. The streamers, the party hats. That was a scary scene. And Jack just goes through the emotions, and he's really trying to help Danny, and it was really a good story. So coming at number 1, my favorite Stephen King book of the 9 Stephen King books I've read so far, since January 2020 when I read The Shining, is Misery. It is the best. I don't think anything could beat it. I mean, I'm gonna be keep open-minded. I want something to beat it because I want something to be better than that, but it's gonna be hard because Misery really, you might not think it could be scary or it could be, uh, it could be good at all because there's one setting the whole time, but it truly is. You're on the edge of your seat the whole time you're reading the book. The characters, there's only two, but they're really good characters, honestly. I bet Annie Wilkes is probably the villain that is the scariest and my favorite villain of all the books I've read so far. And Paul Sheldon, I feel like he's not the best character. He doesn't have he's not the best character of all the books I've read, but he does get the beating. He does go through it with Annie. And I felt so claustrophobic reading this book. I felt scared. It was absolutely a fantastic read. And I finished this book in a few days. And I think Misery was the fastest book I read of the 9 books. Not including Gwenny's Button Box, because that's the shortest. But Misery was just really good. And I don't really have much to say. It was... I think I'm going to do a movie to book, because the movie's really good too. I really enjoyed the movie. So, yeah, thanks for listening. This has been my ranking of the 9 Stephen King books I've read. I'll probably do a ranking when I get to 19. I think that's a good number. So when I read 10 more books, maybe it'll be at the end of the year. Maybe it'll be probably next year. Yeah, 19 seems like a good number to do. Because of the implications in Stephen King's books. So thanks for listening. This has been me ranking the Stephen King books I've read. Thanks for listening. See you next time, constant readers.